Greetings everyone and welcome. I'm your host Captain Ryan. Today's video comes to us courtesy of Nate 378. And Nate is playing for us in the Tier 10 US battleship that is as long as its namesake and crewed by the entire state's population, Montana, here in World of Warships. As the battle gets underway, it's trap, it's domination mode, and Nate has spawned closest to the B cap point, but is not going to blindly rush into the B cap point, and he's not going to fall for the trope of heading to the A cap point. If we take a look at the minimap down there, we can see that only one destroyer is headed off to the A cap point, while the rest of the team has opted to instead turn and head towards the B and C cap points. This is good coordination, ensuring that you don't split your ships too far apart and that you are going to be able to concentrate your fire. Now, the Montana at Tier 10, the Tier 10 battleship, is widely regarded in World of Warships as not being particularly good. It's not that it's a bad ship, it's just that when you compare it to pretty much all the other Tier 10 battleships in the game, the Montana falls short. First and foremost, she doesn't have the best armor. Specifically, she's a very long, flat broadside, and the armor isn't the best, so the ship will eat citadels if you show broadsided to basically anybody, especially if you let a cruiser like a Des Moines pump armor-piercing rounds into you as you cross in front of them. The speed and maneuverability are also not the best. While the speed is decent for a Tier 10 battleship, she's not the slowest Tier 10 in the game, the maneuverability isn't the best. The Kurfürst, as big as she is, seemingly has better turning and torpedo beats abilities than the Montana. The secondaries on this ship are also kind of trash, comparatively speaking. They're not, again, terrible, but when you consider that you get the same size and type and number of 5-inch guns for your secondaries as you get on the North Carolina at Tier 8, the Massachusetts and Alabama, and the Iowa and Missouri, it's pretty obvious to see where the secondary suite can fall short. Now, that's not to say if you don't spec this ship for a secondary build, it's not very effective. It is effective, it's just not going to be as effective as, say, a Yamato's secondaries, a Republic's secondaries, or of course the Kurfürst secondaries. Pretty much, this ship is just a meh battleship. What it does have, however, is very accurate guns, and Nate has so far been putting some of those guns to use. If you've been watching the video here, you can see that the dispersion on these shots is very, very tight compared to something like the Yamato or the Kurfürst or the Conqueror. These shells just fly out and land pretty much right where you want them to land. And of course, there are 12 of them. So more shots out there. Again, look at that dispersion. Very nice and very tight. So far in the battle, Nate's team has managed to secure the A cap point. They've actually managed to take out 2 of the enemy's 5 destroyers. So that's going to give them a destroyer advantage early on. If they have lost a destroyer, they still hold that destroyer advantage. Plus, their destroyer that went down to A is actually contesting at A here. They do lose a cruiser here, but because they held the A cap point and the enemy team doesn't hold any caps at this point, they do still have the points lead. Now, we do know that the friendly team here is in the process of capping C. We do know that there's at least one enemy destroyer back up there, as according to the minimap view was last spotted there. There's the Desmemes once more. There is that Tier 9 Russian battlecruiser as well. Very, very annoying ship. Nate is doing a fairly good job of causing problems for that Kurfürst. He's not getting any citadels because it's a Kurfürst, but he is causing consistent damage. He also gets the luck of the draw praying to RNGesus there as those torpedoes managed to run out of steam just before they would have impacted right below that gun turret, which is a very dangerous spot to have a torpedo impact, as it may cause detonation. Shots coming in there from the Kurfürst, angling pretty well there. The armor, like I said, is not the best, but if you're presenting an angle on this ship, you are probably going to bounce shells. You can even bounce Yamato shells, but don't tell Yamato players that. And fortunately, because this ship's not particularly wide, because it's kind of a skinny ship, comparatively speaking, for its length, you can actually get pretty good gun arcs for those rear turrets when you are trying to angle against a ship while getting all of your guns pointed at the target. Enemy team takes the lead here as they manage to kill yet another destroyer, so the destroyer advantage is now neutral at this point. Nate's team still in the process of capping the C cap point. Nate does help secure that because the ships have been shooting more shots at the Kurfürst, leaving that Kurfürst on probably extremely low health. Torpedoes coming in here. Nate manages to turn, but he turns the wrong way, so he's going to get hit by 2 of those. They do cause a lot of damage there. There's more torpedoes coming in there. Look at the spread here, though. There are a lot of them, so more torpedoes. Nate eats a lot of damage there as a result. The good news is he does have his heal available. He did have his damage control, so he pops that. The American DC parties very, very good. They last a long time, so he was able to pop it after the first set and not die as a result of the second set. The problem is Nate still needs to use his heal ability before somebody gets shots on him and causes him even more problems. Cyclone has started and rolled in, so the visibility is going to start decreasing here. Now, Nate's looking for targets here. He still has that destroyer up front. Not entirely sure which destroyer that was based on the torpedoes there. But there's the destroyer. The destroyer pops up. And it is a Yugamo, so that does make some sense now. He's got the torpedo reload consumable as opposed to smokescreen. Now, Nate has to make a decision here. Who is he going to shoot at? He's got a lot of targets to pick. The friendly team does manage to take the lead once again as they kill a battleship, but that Kurfürst is still managing to survive. More torpedoes in there. Nate is fortunately going to hit 1 from that first set, but because he turned in, gonna miss the second set. Desmemes using his radar, gonna keep Nate spotted here, but it's not like anybody can do anything about it anyway, as Nate is currently behind an island. Enemy team does manage to secure the A cap point, but the friendly team, of course, they have got the C cap point, so they are currently gaining points, and they do have a points lead going into this battle, going into this last 10 minutes here. And as long as they can maintain that points lead with this last 10 minutes, they should be able to win. Now, Nate is pulling kind of a gutsy move here as the Cyclone takes full effect, that 8-kilometer spawning. He's going to go and kind of chase this destroyer around an island, and there is the destroyer. And we know what this is going to mean based on where that destroyer is, but look at that. 12 armor-piercing shots, 6 over-penetrations. That destroyer is a dead destroyer. This is something that the Montana does surprisingly well that a lot of destroyer captains don't really understand, and that is there are 12 of these 16-inch guns. They are highly effective, and they are incredibly accurate. Unlike other battleships that are going to shoot at you, most of the Montana's shells are going to hit you. And if you are a Tier 9 or below destroyer, and you are especially not running the survivability expert skill, you will probably be one-shotted by a Montana with armor piercing. I'm just saying, I've done it, and I've seen it done. With that Yugamo dead, though, the enemy team has lost 4 of their destroyers, so once more the destroyer advantage back with Nate's team. In a Cyclone, this is an incredibly important development because the destroyers are realistically the only things that can hit enemy ships at range without actually needing to see them. If you have RPF, or if you're just in general a smart player, you can oftentimes, as a destroyer, just lay down area of denial torpedoes based on where you think ships are going to be heading. And because they're 10+ kilometer torpedoes, you're probably going to hit them, and those guys never going to be able to see it coming. They're not even going to be spotted, so they're not going to know that you have fired off torpedoes at them. Now, as Nate pushes around here, he gets spotted once again, and there's the Dismemes once more. Nate's got most of his guns pointed this direction, but this Dismemes, he's trying to turn away. But is it going to be enough? The answer is no. There's another Citadel, finished off the Dismemes. But look at this. Nate still has 4 of his heals left because he took so many of those Yugamo torpedoes. He has lost pretty much all of his health in this game, down to just 28,000 health. And there's still quite a bit of this battle left. The enemy team currently holds the ship advantage at 6 ships to Nate's team's 5 here. Nate has done a pretty good job at 156,000 damage. Now you'll notice here, as he was just outside the cap, the enemy team started capping it. And sure enough, it's the enemy Russian battle cruiser. So, battle cruiser broadside on, double Citadel finishes him off. That's incredibly lucky RNGesus right there, given the nature of these Russian heavy cruisers like that. I'm actually surprised those shots didn't bounce. But with that cruiser dead, there's nobody back over here at the sea cap point who's in a position to contest it, with the exception of the Kurfürst, who was last spotted effectively running away, which was a smart move for him given how much health he had left. The remaining enemy team is down at the A cap point, and it looks like they're in the process of pushing and contesting at B. So Nate needs to get himself turned around here and headed towards the B cap point. Now, the Montana, fortunately, is a high-tier U.S. battleship, so it is not as painfully slow as all the U.S. battleships from Tier 2 up to Tier 3 up to Tier 7. But it's still not the fastest ship. You can increase its speed just a little bit, get it up to about 31 knots if you run a Sierra Mike flag. That's the speed flag. You get those for double strikes, and I think you can get them in the flag crates as well. Additionally, the range on the Montana is pretty decent, and if you look at that detection radius here on that mini-map, the detection range is actually pretty damn good for a Tier 10 battleship. It's not quite as sneaky as a Conqueror can be if you spec it that way, but it's still pretty damn sneaky. I think the lowest you can get the detection range on the ship down to is something like 12 kilometers. If you spec it with your camo, with your concealment module, with your captain's skill. And at 12 kilometers, I will tell you, these guns are absolutely disgustingly devastating. Now, as Nate pushes up towards the B cap point to help support his friendly destroyer here, he is spotted. There's the Shimakaze. This could be dangerous because he's giving a broadside to that Shima, but look again, as I said, those shots. 8 over penetrations, 1 penetration. Out of 12 shots fired, that is a dead destroyer. And that's the 4th kill for Nate at this point. Nate is now just 1 kill shy of a Kraken Unleashed, and with the death of that Shimakaze, he's looking at a high caliber as well as a devastating strike, which is always fun to get. And as I mentioned before, these 12 guns, very, very dangerous. If you are in a destroyer and you see a Montana, do not blindly rush him unless his guns are pointed the other direction. It is going to take time for his guns to traverse around to the other side, but if they are pointed your direction, he is probably going to blap you, and it is not going to end well for you. There's that enemy Kurfürst. He's got a lot of health of his back. Nate still has his heals available, but he doesn't have a lot of health here. He is being detected. Of course, the Cyclone is starting to wear off, the visibility range going back up. Shots coming in there from the Kurfürst, plus the secondaries opening up. But the good news is the island is now in the way. Now, the enemy team is down to just 2 ships left. They've got a Hindenburg, and they've got this Kurfürst. Well, Nate's team has a Shimakaze And they have another destroyer. It's another Shimakaze that's down at the A cap point. But unfortunately, you see here, this Shima has a problem. And that's the same problem that Nate has just sailed into. And that's the Hindenburg's hydroacoustic. Now, the Kurfürst does have hydroacoustic, but they're still far enough away from him that this is definitely not his. However, it is most definitely coming from the Hindenburg. And that hydro is going to last a long time. Not only is it going to last a long time, it is going to constantly reveal the position of both Nate and the Shima. So the Shima, given his health, really can't do anything about this. The Kurfürst has turned away to try and dodge the torpedoes. It looks like he got hit by one. That's going to give Nate the opportunity to get out there, nose out a little bit, and get shots on this guy. Now, the Kurfürst turns back. As you can see, Nate starts turning in. He slows down. He uses his WASD hacks to dodge those shots. He's going to have shots available here in just 5 more seconds. Can he get these shots off here before somebody else secures the kill? Can he get that Kraken unleashed? There's shots out at the Kurfürst. Come on, get him finished off. There it is, Kraken unleashed in this game. Nate is doing a phenomenal job, but there's still a cruiser left. That Hindenburg. There's not a lot of time left in this match. At this point, there's just 3 minutes total here. About 2 minutes where anything meaningful could happen. There's the Hindenburg. He's giving broadside. Now, anytime a cruiser like this is giving broadside coming out, you know what that's going to mean. Shots out there. No citadels there. There's the torpedoes coming in as expected. Now, this Shimakaze is being very brave, but Nate is taking most of the brunt of this Hindenburg's action here. Torpedoes coming in, aimed perfectly. Unfortunately, this Hindenburg is going to get a double strike as he manages to finish off the Shimakaze, and in fact, he does get his double strike as he takes Nate out as well. But hey, you know what? Look at that spread of torpedoes from that Shima, finishing that Hindenburg off. There was nothing he could do about that. 223,000 damage done in that game, 5 kills, Confederate high caliber Kraken unleash, and of course 2 devastating strikes there. One of them by deleting that Shimakaze, who still had 3/4 of his health left. Top of the team for XP earned at 3,380 base experience. Wow, it's not often that you see people earn those kinds of XP scores. It's really uncommon that you see them earn this in Battleship. So good job, Nate378, and thank you for your submission. Anyway, that's it for today's video, folks. If you like the video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. If you'd like to get some irregular channel news and updates, you can do so by liking and following me on Facebook. If you've got a replay like this one that you'd like to see me feature on my channel or just have a take a look at because you think it's interesting, you can send it to my email. If you'd like to help support me and the channel, as well as gain some early access to some of these World of Warships videos, you can do so by becoming my supporter on Patreon. And if you'd like to watch me play various games live, albeit intermittently, you can do so by following me on Twitch. You can find links for all of those in the video description down below. And as always, I'll see you next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.